Okay, so you probably clicked on this video because you've recently been looking into noise cancelling headphones and you want to know whether or not they're worth the hype. Personally, I've been using noise cancelling headphones on a daily basis for the past year, and so in this video I'm going to try and highlight their pros and cons in order to aid you in your decision on whether you should buy them or not. I will also be using various research studies in order to back up these points. It is important to note that in this video I will mainly be focusing on using noise cancelling headphones in a productivity setting because that's what I mainly use them for, but I think most people will still be able to take something from this video because a lot of the pros and cons will overlap. The timestamps for each section of the video will be right here in case you need to skip to any section of the video, so let's get right into it. So, sound is generally just the compression and decompression of the particles in the medium that it flows through. In this instance, it's air. These moving particles lead to very slight changes in air pressure, and we call the measured power of these changes in air pressure amplitude. And our ears and brains detect and decipher these changes in air pressure as sound. If you were to chart the amplitude over time, you would end up with something like this. The louder the sound, the more extreme the amplitude. Your headphones cancel outside noise by using a trick of physics called antiphase. The concept is actually really easy to understand, but it's actually very difficult to put into practice, as you'll see later. If you were to take two identical waves and place them on top of each other, matching up the peaks and the troughs, the two waves are said to be in phase, which results in an even larger wave, or a larger sound. But what happens if you delay one of the waves by exactly 1/2 wavelength, matching up the troughs with the peaks of the other wave? The waves are then said to be out of phase and end up subtracting from one another, as the positive pressures of one wave are acting against the negative pressures of the other, and vice versa. Think of it as trying to add one and subtract one. You're just left with zero. This is the basic physics behind active noise cancelling. But how is that used in our headphones? Headphones have tiny microphones that listen to the ambient noise around us and then pass it on to the onboard electronics, which then take it from there. The headphones then create a sound that is exactly opposite to the sound wave. This is called the antiphase, which cancels the first sound wave out, so all you should hear is the music coming from your headphones and not anything else going on outside. Of course, this is all theoretical. In practice, noise cancelling is very hard to do and far from perfect. Consistent noises like the low hums of jet engines on airplanes are easier for headphones to recognize and cancel when compared to sudden, random sounds like people talking. It's common knowledge that most of us would prefer to study in a quiet environment, but how much does noise really affect our study? To help us answer this question, I've brought along a bit of research. Firstly, an employee productivity study done by British Gypsum in 2015 found that reducing noise in the workplace increased the ability to focus by almost 50% and decreased stress levels by almost 30%. This is very similar to a study done by a psychologist called Nick Perham, who found that noise in the office can impair a worker's ability to recall information and even their ability to do basic arithmetic. So we can see from these studies that noise generally has a negative effect on productivity and work. But do different types of noise have the same effect? There was a study done in 2011 that split a population into two groups, high productivity and low productivity. They then asked each group to rank the annoyingness of different types of noise, and they found that the three most annoying noise sources, including conversation, ringing phones and machines, differed little in mean annoyance scores for the low and high productivity participants, indicating that they had a significant negative impact on all participants. The results also indicated that low productivity participants were easily influenced by noises such as background noise, closing doors, and human activity, as well as those coming from both inside and outside the office. It's interesting to note that the high productivity group were not affected by these noises. So does that mean that we should just cut out all noise altogether then? No. The University of Illinois found that there's a sweet spot of sound level, about 70 decibels, and that if a participant was exposed to anything higher than 70 decibels, their creativity and productivity decreased. And if they were exposed to anything less than 70 decibels, their productivity also decreased, which shows that quietness isn't necessarily a good thing when it comes to productivity. It's just about achieving that sweet spot of 70 decibels. This probably explains why some people are generally more productive in coffee shops over other places. It's also important to remember that at the end of the day, noise cancelling headphones are also headphones. So how do they compare to normal headphones? Noise cancelling headphones are advantaged in the fact that they can block out external sounds. You don't need to turn up the volume as high when you listen to music. They can give a better listening experience as they can cut out external sounds. They're perfect for travel as they can cut out engine noises. They can also help mitigate the health effects that noise pollution has, such as fatigue, irritation, increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, and constriction of blood vessels. They can also be used without headphones when you just want to have a quiet environment. Their main con is that they tend to be pretty expensive, but it's pretty easy to find affordable noise-cancelling headphones at a reasonable price. So are they worth it? Since I use them every day for listening to music, for listening to lectures, or just cutting out background noise altogether, they're very much useful to me. Mainly because I live in a dorm setting where there's usually people making noise or playing music out loud or laughing. I find those kind of noises very distracting, and my noise cancelling headphones help me to cut out those kind of noises, making my study experience a lot easier and a lot more streamlined. But situations are different for everybody, so if you feel like the pros fit you and your needs, then I do recommend buying them. It's important to note that at the end of the day, noise cancelling headphones are just a tool to help you with your study. They're not going to magically make you start studying 10, 11, 12 hours a day, but it's just a tool to help with your enjoyment of study and make your study or productivity or your listening experience a lot better. Your productivity levels are generally based on discipline and focus, so at the end of the day, you should always remember that this is just a tool. So that's the end of the video. If you liked it, leave a thumbs up. If you didn't, comment why, and I'll see you in the next video.